The message came on a Tuesday. After decades of sending signals into space, humanity finally got an answer. The radio astronomers at the Arecibo facility were the first to notice the unusual pattern. It wasn't random cosmic noise. It had structure, repetition, clear intent. Within hours, similar reports came in from observatories around the world. 3 days later, the message was decoded. Greetings, people of Earth. We are the Galactic Council, and we wish to establish formal relations. The world changed overnight. Stock markets crashed, then soared. Religious leaders called for calm or proclaimed the end times. Military forces went on high alert. And in Washington, D.C., a special committee gathered to decide who would represent all of humanity. Alan Wright sat quietly as arguments flew across the conference table. At 52, he had spent 30 years in diplomatic service, with posts on every continent. His calm demeanor and steady voice had helped resolve 3 international crises that could have led to war. "Wright is our best option," said General Martinez, cutting through the noise. "He understands both diplomacy and military strategy. If these aliens have bad intentions, he'll see it coming." 1 week later, Commander Wright stood on the launch pad beside the gleaming hull of the U.S. Horizon. Scientists had worked around the clock to prepare the ship for its journey to meet the Council representatives at the coordinates they provided, just beyond Alpha Centauri. "Commander, are you sure about this?" Lisa Daniels asked, adjusting her glasses. As the world's leading xenobiologist, she had been an obvious choice for the mission. "We know nothing about these beings or their intentions." Wright nodded. "That's precisely why we're going, Doctor. Better to meet them on somewhat equal terms than wait for them to come to us." Major Frank Powell, head of security, checked his tablet. "Final systems check complete, sir. The crew is ready. We launch in 30 minutes. Sam Martinez joined them, communication equipment in hand. "Commander, I've prepared translation algorithms based on their initial message. If they can speak to us once, we can build on that foundation." Wright looked at his small team. 4 humans tasked with representing Earth to an unknown civilization. The pressure was immense, but he felt oddly calm. "Let's make history," he said simply. The launch was perfect. As Earth shrank behind them, Wright stood alone in his quarters, looking at the only personal item he had brought, a photo of his daughter, Kelly. His wife had died 10 years ago, leaving him to raise their child alone. Now Kelly was in college, proud of her father, but worried she might never see him again. "I'll be back," he had promised her. During the 3-week journey, the crew prepared intensely. They reviewed the limited information they had about the Council. According to the initial message, it consisted of 12 major species who governed different sectors of the galaxy. Earth was on the border between 2 of these sectors. "They've likely been watching us for some time," Martinez suggested during one briefing. "The question is, why make contact now?" On the final day of their journey, Wright gathered his team. "Remember, we represent all of humanity. Our actions will determine our species' future. We are not there to surrender or to fight. We are there to establish our place in a wider community." As the ship decelerated, a massive structure came into view, nearly 5 miles long. The Council vessel dwarfed the horizon like a whale beside a minnow. "My God," whispered Daniels. Wright straightened his uniform. "Open a channel, Martinez. Tell them the representatives of Earth have arrived." The comm system crackled. "Human vessel," came a strange, multilayered voice. "You are cleared to dock in Bay 17. The Council welcomes you." Wright took a deep breath. Humanity's first step into a larger universe had begun. The docking procedure took nearly an hour. The U.S. Horizon looked tiny inside the massive bay of the Council ship. Wright watched through the viewport as strange mechanical arms guided their vessel into place with perfect precision. "Atmosphere readings show the air is breathable," Daniels said, checking her instruments. "But I still recommend we use our own oxygen supply for now." Wright nodded. "Agreed. No unnecessary risks." The four humans suited up in their specially designed diplomatic attire. The suits looked formal, but contained hidden protective measures and monitoring equipment. Powell made a final check of their communication systems. Remember, Wright told his team, "We observe everything, but reveal little. We're here to learn before we commit to anything." The airlock hissed open. Standing before them was a tall, slender being with pale blue skin and 4 arms. Its face had no nose, just breathing slits and large oval eyes that blinked sideways. "I am Ambassador Zeltherix of the Eldarian Dominion," the alien said in perfect English. "On behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome the representatives of Earth." Wright stepped forward. "Commander Alan Wright of Earth, we are honored by your invitation." The alien made a gesture that might have been a bow. "Please follow me. The Council awaits." They walked through corridors that seemed to stretch for miles. The architecture was both beautiful and unsettling, with walls that sometimes appeared solid and sometimes transparent. Other alien species passed by, some nodding in acknowledgement, others staring openly at the humans. Martinez leaned close to Wright. "Commander, I'm recording everything. The Universal Translator is working perfectly. Their technology is far beyond what we imagined." In a quiet moment, Wright asked their guide, "Ambassador, how many species are part of the Council?" "The full Council includes representatives from over 300 worlds," Zeltherix replied. "But only 12 species hold voting power. The rest are associates." Wright caught the pause. And where would humans fit in this structure? The alien's expression was unreadable. "That remains to be determined. Earth is in an interesting position, at the border of 2 major sectors." Before Wright could ask more questions, they entered a vast circular room filled with screens showing images of Earth, cities, oceans, forests, and people going about their daily lives. "You've been watching us," Powell said, his hand instinctively moving toward his sidearm. "Of course," said Zeltherix. "We study all developing worlds. Your planet has been of particular interest due to your unusually rapid technological advancement." Daniel stepped closer to one screen showing a deep ocean trench. "These are live feeds." "Indeed, we have observation posts throughout your system." Wright's mind raced. The implications were enormous. "Those posts explain many of our UFO sightings, I imagine." Zeltherix made a sound that might have been laughter. "Your species is quite observant, despite your limitations." That night, in their assigned quarters, the team gathered to share observations. "They're not telling us everything," Powell said. "I counted at least 3 different security checkpoints we passed through. This isn't just a diplomatic vessel." Daniels nodded. "And did you notice how they kept referring to protected species and developing worlds?" "We're being classified, categorized." Martinez pulled up data on his tablet. "Based on conversations I overheard, there are 3 dominant species in the Council. The Eldarians, like our guide, something called the Vex Collective, and the Meridian Empire." Wright looked out at the stars. Earth seemed impossibly far away now. "We need to understand the power dynamics at play here. These species have been managing galactic politics for thousands of years. We're newcomers, and they're already deciding our fate." He turned to his team, his expression resolute. "Tomorrow, we meet the full Council delegation. Whatever they offer us, whatever they want from Earth, remember one thing. We are not here to surrender our independence." None of them slept well that night, knowing that tomorrow would shape the future of humanity. Morning came too quickly. Wright woke to soft chimes emanating from the walls of his quarters. He found fresh clothes laid out for him. Earth-style garments, but made from a fabric he didn't recognize. The team gathered for a quick breakfast of food provided by their hosts. The meal looked like familiar Earth dishes, but tasted slightly different. "Synthetic reproductions," Daniels explained after running a scan. "Safe to eat, but designed to match our nutritional needs while using their ingredients." Ambassador Zeltherix arrived promptly to escort them to the Council meeting. Today, the alien wore an elaborate collar that glowed with soft blue light. It denotes my speaking authority, the ambassador explained when Wright asked about it. In the council chambers, only those with proper authority may address the gathering. They entered a room 3 times larger than any stadium on Earth. Hundreds of aliens from dozens of species sat in tiered sections. Some looked almost human, others were utterly bizarre. Floating gas clouds contained in transparent shells, beings that seemed made of living crystal, and creatures with too many limbs to count easily. Wright and his team were led to a small platform in the center. All eyes turned to them. A deep voice boomed through the chamber, speaking in multiple languages simultaneously. The translation came through the humans' earpieces. The Council recognizes the representatives of Earth, a developing world in Sector 7, bordering Sector 12. 3 beings moved to a raised dais before them. One was clearly Alderian like Zeltherix, but larger and adorned with more elaborate markings. Beside it stood a massive creature with red gold scales and eyes that glowed like embers. The third was encased in a mechanical suit, only hints of a pale, spindly body visible within. "I am High Counselor Vordamash of the Alderian Dominion," said the first. "With me are High Counselor Krax of the Meridian Empire and First Mind Telax of the Vex Collective. We speak for the ruling triumvirate of the Galactic Council." Wright stepped forward and bowed respectfully. "Commander Alan Wright of Earth, we are honored by this audience. You are the first developing species granted formal audience in 300 years, said the mechanized being, its voice oddly musical. "This is a rare privilege." "The question before us," rumbled the scaled creature, "is what place Earth shall occupy in the great tapestry of galactic civilization." Images of Earth appeared on massive screens surrounding the chamber. Wright watched as scenes from human history played out, great achievements alongside terrible wars, technological marvels next to environmental disasters. "Your species is remarkably resilient," said Vordamash, "and troublingly unpredictable. You advance quickly, but often without wisdom," added Telax. "This concerns us." As the day progressed, Wright realized this was not truly a negotiation, but an evaluation. The Council was deciding Earth's future without much input from its representatives. When he tried to ask questions about trade agreements or technology exchange, the conversation was skillfully redirected. During a brief recess, Powell pulled Wright aside. "Commander, something's not right. I've been watching the security patterns. There's increased activity in the lower decks, and I overheard 2 officers mentioning a fleet deployment." Martinez joined them, his expression worried. "I've been monitoring their internal communications as best I can. They keep referring to Earth as a strategic asset and discussing containment protocols." Daniels completed their circle. "The xenobiology database I was given access to classifies humans as potentially disruptive. We're being assessed as a threat, not a partner." Wright looked around at the vast chamber, at the hundreds of alien representatives watching them, with curious or wary eyes. Earth's future hung in the balance, and he was starting to suspect that the Council had already made their decision. "We need to change the script," he said quietly. "Tomorrow, when we reconvene, I'm going to take a different approach." His team looked at him with concern and curiosity. "What do you have in mind?" asked Daniels. "Something unexpected," Wright replied. "Very unexpected." That night, Wright couldn't sleep. He paced in his quarters, thinking about Earth and everything at stake. A soft chime indicated someone at his door. "Enter," he called. To his surprise, it was Ambassador Zeltherix. "Commander Wright," the alien said quietly, "I hope I'm not disturbing you." "Not at all, Ambassador. What can I do for you at this late hour?" The Alderian moved further into the room, looking around as if checking for listening devices. "I came to offer some context for tomorrow's proceedings." Wright gestured to a chair. "Please, sit. In my many cycles as a diplomatic liaison, I have rarely encountered a species in your unique position," Zeltherix began. "Earth sits at the border of 2 powerful sectors. Both the Alderians and the Meridians wish to claim influence over your world. So we're caught in a power struggle, Wright said. Precisely. The official offers you'll receive tomorrow will seem generous. Protection, limited technology sharing, cultural exchange. But make no mistake, Commander. Acceptance of any offer will effectively make Earth a client world. Wright's eyes narrowed. Why are you telling me this? The alien's four hands made a complex gesture. Let's say I have seen too many worlds lose their independence. Your species has potential. After the ambassador left, Wright called his team together. We need to know exactly what we're dealing with, he told them. Martinez, can you access their database without being detected? The communications expert nodded. Their security is advanced, but they don't expect us to understand their systems. I found a backdoor through their visitor protocols. For the next few hours, they pored over the information Martinez uncovered. The picture it painted was disturbing. 3 other species were granted protected status in the last century, Daniels reported. All 3 had their resources stripped within 50 years. 2 are now extinct. Powell pulled up a star chart. And look at this. There's already a Council military outpost being constructed at the edge of our solar system. They're positioning assets before we've even agreed to anything. Wright sat back, processing this information. They've decided our fate already. These negotiations are just theater. The next morning, they returned to the Council chamber. Each of the 3 dominant species presented their offers to Earth. As Zeltherix had warned, they sounded generous on the surface. The Alderians offered cultural exchange and medical technology. The Meridians promised military protection and mining rights. The Vex Collective proposed education programs and limited space travel technology. But each offer contained the same core requirement. Earth would cede its independence in all matters of interstellar policy. Humans would be restricted to their solar system unless granted specific travel permits, and all scientific advancement would be supervised by Council authorities. When the offers were complete, High Counselor Vordamash turned to Wright. These are generous terms for a species at your development stage. We will allow you 1 day to consider which offer best suits humanity's needs. Wright stepped forward. With respect, High Counselor, I would like to address the full council now. There was murmuring throughout the chamber. The 3 leaders conferred briefly. This is irregular, said Tilax of the Vex Collective. But permitted. You may speak. Wright moved to the center of the platform. He could feel hundreds of alien eyes watching him. His team looked nervous but supportive. Honorable representatives of the Galactic Council, he began. I have listened carefully to your generous offers. I understand the benefits you describe and the protections you promise. He paused, looking directly at each of the 3 leaders. But before we proceed further, there is something you should know about humanity. Something that may change how you view our place in your galactic order. The council chamber grew very quiet. Wright took a deep breath, ready to take the biggest gamble in human history. Wright stood tall before the council. He had abandoned his prepared speech. What humanity needed now was not careful diplomacy, but a bold move. For thousands of years, humans have looked to the stars and wondered if we were alone, he began. Now we know we are not, but we have also learned something else about our galaxy. He gestured to the hundreds of alien representatives. This council presents itself as the pinnacle of civilization, as the rightful authority over all developing worlds. Yet we have uncovered disturbing facts about how you treat those under your protection. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The 3 high counselors shifted uncomfortably. Commander Wright, interrupted Vordamash, this is not the purpose of. I'm not finished, Wright said firmly. You invited Earth to join your community. We deserve to know what that truly means. He nodded to Martinez, who activated a small device. Suddenly, the chamber's screens displayed the information they had discovered. The exploitation of resources, the restrictions placed on other species, the military buildup near Earth. You call yourselves protectors, but you are conquerors, Wright continued. You offer us safety while positioning weapons around our home. High Counselor Cracks of the Meridians rose to his full height, scales bristling. You overstep, human. This council has maintained peace in this galaxy for 10,000 years. Peace through control, Wright countered. Peace by preventing any species from challenging your dominance. The chamber erupted in shouts and arguments. Many of the smaller species looked uncomfortable, while representatives of the three dominant powers appeared outraged. First Mind Tilax raised its mechanical arms. Silence. The chamber quieted immediately. Commander Wright, you make serious accusations without understanding the complexities of galactic stability. Wright nodded. Perhaps, but we understand freedom, and we understand when it's being taken away. Your species is young and volatile, said Vordamash. Without our guidance, you could become a threat to yourselves and others. That is not your decision to make, Wright replied. Earth will not surrender its sovereignty. Cracks laughed, a rumbling sound like distant thunder. Bold words from a species that has just discovered interstellar travel. What leverage do you imagine you have? Wright took a deep breath. This was the moment everything hinged on. He had no real proof of what he was about to claim. Only fragments of information, ancient Earth legends, and a desperate need to change the power dynamic. We have been careful observers since our arrival, he said. We've studied your histories, your technologies, your politics, and we've noticed something interesting, something you try very hard to hide. The three leaders exchanged glances. You speak of what you cannot know, Tilax said, but there was a new tension in its voice. Wright stepped forward. His heart pounded, but his voice remained steady. You talk about your council's 10,000 years of history as if it were the beginning of advanced civilization in this galaxy, but we know that's not true. The chamber grew very quiet. There are ruins on Earth, structures that predate human civilization. There are artifacts our scientists have only begun to understand. There are stories passed down through countless generations. He looked directly at each of the three high counselors. All of them point to the same truth, a truth you've tried to bury. A civilization that came before you. A civilization that spanned this galaxy long before your council existed. Wright paused, letting his words sink in. Then, with perfect clarity, he spoke the 5 words that would change everything. We know about the precursors. The effect was immediate. Gasps echoed throughout the chamber. Several representatives stood up in alarm. The 3 high counselors froze, their expressions a mix of shock and fear. For a moment, there was complete silence. Then the chamber exploded into chaos. Security forces rushed into the chamber as shouting filled the air. Some council members pointed accusingly at others, while many of the smaller species representatives huddled together, looking afraid. Wright stood his ground as his team moved closer to him, watching the chaos unfold. How did you learn this name? Vordamash demanded, rising from his seat. His voice cut through the noise, and the chamber gradually quieted. That's not important, Wright replied calmly. What matters is that we know the truth. The precursors built an advanced civilization across this galaxy millions of years ago. Their technology was far beyond even what you possess today. Powell stepped forward. We found their ruins on Earth, underground complexes with technology that still functions after all this time. This was a calculated bluff. Earth did have unexplained ancient ruins and artifacts, but nothing definitively alien. Still, the reaction from the council confirmed they had struck a nerve. First, Mind Talax's mechanical body made strange clicking sounds. Impossible. The containment protocols on Sol 3, on Earth, have been in place for thousands of years. Yet here we are, Wright said. Perhaps humans are more resourceful than you expected. High Counselor Cracks slammed a clawed hand down. This changes nothing. Your world is still primitive, still vulnerable. You need our protection whether you admit it or not. Wright shook his head. No. What we need is the truth. And respect. He turned to address the entire chamber. How many of you know the full history of the precursors? How many have been told that their technology is forbidden, too dangerous to study? Yet the ruling powers of this council have kept that technology for themselves, haven't they? Murmurs of agreement came from various sections of the chamber. Wright had guessed correctly. The smaller species had suspicions, but little concrete information. Daniels spoke up, following Wright's lead. Our scientists have already activated several precursor devices. They respond to human neural patterns in ways they apparently don't respond to other species. Another calculated bluff, but one that hit home. The three high counselors exchanged alarmed glances. This session is suspended, Vor Damash announced. The human delegation will be escorted to their quarters while the council discusses these claims. As guards moved toward them, a small frog-like being rushed forward. No, we should hear more. The Juraxians have long suspected the Triumvirate has hidden truths about the ancient times. Others joined in, representatives from a dozen smaller species suddenly finding courage to speak. The Tellurian Federation has discovered precursor ruins as well. The Daxari have legends of the before builders going back millennia. The chamber descended into chaos again. Wright and his team were escorted out amid the uproar. In the corridor, Ambassador Zeltherix was waiting. That was either incredibly brave or foolishly dangerous, the Alderian said, falling into step beside them. Perhaps both. We needed to change the game, Wright replied. The council was going to make Earth a puppet state. Zeltherix's breathing slits fluttered. You've certainly achieved that. The council hasn't seen such discord in centuries. The smaller species have long suspected the Triumvirate of hoarding ancient knowledge and technology. And have they? Daniels asked. The ambassador was quiet for a moment. Yes, the precursors were real. Their civilization spanned the galaxy 5 million years ago. They simply vanished, left everything behind. The three dominant species found their technology first and used it to establish control over the others. And now? Wright asked. Now you've upset the balance of power. The smaller species will demand answers, access, equality. The Triumvirate will resist. And Earth, Zeltherix looked at Wright with new respect. Earth has become the center of a galactic political crisis. Back in their quarters, Powell spoke what they were all thinking. So what happens now? Wright looked out at the stars. Now we wait and prepare. Tomorrow will determine whether humanity becomes a true player in galactic politics or a target for elimination. Wright barely slept that night. The gamble he had taken was enormous. If it failed, Earth could face the combined wrath of the three most powerful species in known space. Shortly after what would have been dawn on Earth, Ambassador Zeltherix arrived. The council is reconvening, the Alderian said. This is unprecedented. Normally, deliberations would take days. Is that good or bad for us? Martins asked. I honestly don't know, Zeltherix replied. But I've been instructed to bring you immediately. They followed the ambassador through corridors that seemed more crowded than before. Aliens of various species watched them pass, some with curiosity, others with what looked like hope in their strange eyes. Word has spread quickly, Powell observed quietly. Yes, Zeltherix confirmed. Your revelation has been the only topic of discussion throughout the ship. Many smaller species are calling for a complete restructuring of the council. The chamber they entered was different from before, smaller with a circular table at its center. Around it sat not only the Triumvirate but representatives from a dozen other species. Commander Wright, Vor Damash spoke, his tone notably less commanding than before. The council has deliberated on yesterday's revelations. Wright and his team were directed to seats at the table, a remarkable change from their previous position as supplicants before the council. Let me be direct, continued the Alderian leader. Your claims about the precursors have created a significant diplomatic situation. First, Mind-Tilax's mechanical arms shifted. While the existence of the precursor civilization is classified information, it is not, as you suggested, completely unknown. What concerns us is your claim that humans have accessed their technology. A claim we can neither verify nor disprove without visiting Earth, rumbled Krax. Wright kept his expression neutral, not revealing that this had been largely a bluff. Our interest is not in creating conflict, but in ensuring Earth's independence and fair treatment. A small bird-like alien with iridescent feathers spoke up. The Zephyrians believe this situation presents an opportunity for change. The Council has been stagnant for too long. Others nodded in agreement. Perhaps, said another alien, this one resembling a giant insect, it is time for the Triumvirate to share knowledge that has been kept secret for millennia. Vordamash looked displeased but resigned. We maintain certain controls for the stability and safety of all. The precursor's disappearance was sudden and unexplained. Their technology can be unpredictable, even dangerous. Yet you've used it to maintain your dominance, Wright pointed out. For the greater good, Tulax insisted. Wright leaned forward. If that's true, then let's put it to the test. I propose a new relationship between Earth and the Council, one based on mutual respect and genuine exchange. He outlined his vision. Earth would remain independent, free to develop on its own path. In exchange, humans would share their unique perspective on precursor artifacts and join a new research alliance with interested Council species. Humans have always excelled at finding new approaches to old problems, Wright explained. We could contribute fresh insights to questions that have remained unanswered for millennia. The representatives discussed among themselves. Wright noticed that the smaller species seemed enthusiastic, while the Triumvirate appeared reluctant but cornered. Finally, Vordamash spoke. Your proposal has merit, Commander Wright, but verification is required. A delegation must visit Earth to confirm your claims about precursor technology. Wright nodded, hiding his concern. The bluff would be called, but perhaps that was inevitable. And they had already gained significant leverage. Agreed, he said. But this delegation must include representatives from multiple species, not just the Triumvirate. The bird-like Zephyrian trilled approval. Yes, a diverse investigation team. Others quickly supported this condition. Wright saw the three high counselors exchange glances. Their absolute control was slipping away before his eyes. Very well, Vordamash said finally. We shall form a multi-species delegation to Earth. Until then, this council will honor Earth's independence. It wasn't complete victory, but it was a beginning. The journey back to Earth was tense. Wright and his team spent much of it planning how to handle the coming inspection. Their bluff about active precursor technology would soon be exposed. We do have those unusual ruins in Egypt and South America, Daniel said during one strategy session, and the unexplained structures underwater near Japan. We just don't know if they're actually alien. We need to be honest, Wright decided. We'll show them everything we have and admit our uncertainty. The important thing is that we've changed the conversation. Earth is being treated as an equal now, not a resource to be claimed. As the U.S. horizon approached Earth, a message from home reached them. Earth's governments had been busy during their absence. Commander, said the President's voice in the recorded message, while you were negotiating with the Council, our scientists made a remarkable discovery. A team in Antarctica found something. Well, you'll need to see it for yourself. We're sending coordinates, and Commander, well done out there. 2 days later, the Horizon landed at a newly established diplomatic spaceport in neutral international waters. Wright was surprised to see Ambassador Zeltherix and representatives from 7 different Council species already waiting. We took the liberty of arriving ahead of you, Zeltherix explained. The Triumvirate representatives will join us tomorrow. Wright was immediately taken to Antarctica, where a research base had been expanded around what appeared to be an ordinary ice cave. Inside, however, was anything but ordinary. We found it 3 weeks ago, the lead scientist explained as they walked through a tunnel of gleaming black material that was definitely not ice. It was buried under 2 miles of ice. Carbon dating suggests it's been here for at least 1 million years. They entered a vast chamber. In its center stood a pillar of the same black material, covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change as Wright looked at them. Around the chamber were devices of unknown purpose, some humming softly with power despite their age. It activated when the first research team entered, the scientist continued. The symbols appeared, and some of the devices powered up. Nothing like this has ever been found on Earth before. Wright stared in amazement. His bluff had been a calculated risk based on legends and a few unexplained artifacts. He never expected to find actual, working precursor technology. The next day, the full council delegation arrived. The three triumvirate representatives tried to hide their shock when they saw the Antarctic discovery, but failed. This is genuine precursor technology. First Mind, Talax confirmed, its mechanical body moving around the chamber in evident excitement, and it appears to be responding to human presence in a way I've never seen before. Over the next week, more sites were discovered, hidden chambers beneath ancient monuments, underwater structures that began to glow when approached by humans, desert formations that revealed themselves to be vast machines. Earth had been a precursor outpost all along. The evidence suggested they had visited early humans, perhaps even influenced human evolution. On the final day of the inspection, the council delegation met with Earth's united governments. The balance of power had shifted dramatically. The council formally recognizes Earth's independent status, Vor-Damash announced, sounding as if the words pained him. We propose an alliance of equals, with full membership in the Galactic Council. Wright, standing among Earth's leaders, smiled. We accept your proposal, but with conditions. The knowledge of the precursors must be shared among all species. No more secrets, no more dominance by the few over the many. The smaller species representatives applauded. Even the triumvirate could not object. Not with Earth now positioned to become perhaps the most important world in the galaxy. Later, as Wright watched the council ships depart from Earth orbit, Martinez joined him. Not bad for a diplomatic mission, the communications officer said. You changed the entire power structure of galactic politics with just 5 words. Wright smiled, his eyes on the stars that no longer seemed so distant or alien. 5 words and a lot of luck, he replied. But that's humanity in a nutshell, isn't it? We've always made our way forward on a mix of boldness, bluffing, and just enough truth to back it up. And somewhere in the vast reaches of space, perhaps the precursors were watching their long-lost children take their first steps onto the galactic stage.